Is it good? You're welcome. I didn't want to cook something when we still had all that other food in there, so I ate that dinner that I had the other night, the meat and potatoes. I went ahead and ate that just to get rid of it. Oh goodness. Sorry, I'm trying to get back. I'm still working a little bit. I'm trying to finish working. I did not watch the inauguration. Did you guys watch it? I didn't even bother. I was at work all day anyways. So I didn't spend a lot of time like paying attention. However, there is some rumors going around that Donald Trump paid for some of his votes. I don't know where, but I know everybody is who is on TikTok is glad that TikTok is back. It's definitely been it was definitely like a little bit of an adjustment with it being gone, but then it came back, hours later. So it was almost like, what was the point? What was the point in it? What was the point in taking it away just to give it back? Like, if you're going to do something, just do it. Oh my gosh. Did you hear that Gypsy went on to Red Note and posted her first Red Note? And apparently the Chinese do not like her. So all of the comments on her note were negative. They were not good comments, and all the Chinese people were like basically talking to her in Chinese, telling her that they didn't want her on the app in Mandarin, which I thought was funny. And then she ended up deleting, "Hey girl," and then she ended up deleting the note off of Red Note. I was talking about how Gypsy went onto Red Note and posted a photo, and then the Chinese people were telling her in Mandarin that they didn't want her on the app. And that they stood with Dee Dee. It was funny. Hey, Kathleen. So that was actually like really surprising to see. Hey, Butterfly. Because like, how she has so many like stupid fans in America, and it's like, why? That's so weird that people would like fangirl over a criminal. So I don't know what she thought going over to Red Note, like if she was going to get the same kind of support over there that she gets over here, but they were like, no, I'm not having that. Yeah, I think a bunch of people notified them too. I think it definitely she didn't block me on Red Note, which if she ever posts over there, that'll be it'll be interesting to see if she posts more. But she's not, but I'm not blocked. So I went over there to see what was going on. And thank you so much for the gifts. And I went over there to see what was going on. And by that time, she had already taken down the note. So I was seeing everything like secondhand, because by the time I had gotten notification of it all, um, it was already gone. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to actually like scroll through and click on the Mandarin comments so that I could actually see what they wrote. But they were definitely very supportive of Dee Dee, which is, rightfully so. I mean, we all know we're not supposed to be unaliving our parents. That's a given. So it was nice to see that they were very supportive of Dee Dee and not supportive of Gypsy. I think that she probably wasn't anticipating that to happen, because she just expects that everybody is gonna, portray her as this little sad victim that she wants people to think that she is, but she's not. Um, so that was interesting. What else did I want to talk about? So everybody today is talking about like the US government, that sort of thing. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that we are in a very capitalistic society, and most people, I don't know if they're awake or if they just don't care. Oh no, where are you at, Kathleen? I don't know if people understand that the poor people are being so oppressed. Wow, you're going to get snow in Houston. Okay, that'll be interesting to see. Send me a picture if you get some. So my clients will like ask me about like doggy stuff. We are very oppressed. The Chinese, back to what I was thinking. I'm sorry. I have like ADHD brain, so sometimes I get like sidetracked of what my thought process is. Hey, patience. Um the Chinese, the children, they are so well educated. Like, I have to show you this video, because how is it possible that we are so far behind the Chinese children? And this is what they're learning in fucking kindergarten.
Kids in other kindergartens eat, sleep, and play games. Kids in this Chinese kindergarten do laundry and cook, learning self-reliance. They have outdoor stoves proportionate to their height, and they make their own meals every day.
Like,
From
this is
washing and chopping
crazy.
vegetables to cooking. They eat their own cooked meals with such gusto you'd think they're licking the plates clean. After eating, they voluntarily clean up and even line up to wash dishes.
This is what they are learning in kindergarten. In kindergarten, most Americans don't even know how to cook their own food. So there's another one where they were actually like, the kids were sewing. They were. Let me try to find it.
Kindergarten in China that's nothing like the typical play and rest setup here. Kids as young as 3 and 4 handle tasks you'd expect from adults. They wash clothes, cook meals, and even clean up after themselves.
I mean, it's just amazing. We are so far behind.
Where they prepare their daily food afterward. They line up to wash dishes, then move on to weaving baskets, knitting scarves, or even sewing clothes.
They're learning life skills at a very young age. Look at this little girl sewing. I mean, like,
kid-sized sewing machines, They juice fresh fruits from start to finish, practice clay building, draw, make decorations, and solve puzzles.
My question is, why are we not on this same level? Why are Americans not being taught the same values, the same type of culture that they are? We don't have anything like that here. The Montessori schools, those are a little bit similar to like what this is, but still nowhere near this level. Like we are, as a country, as a society, we are incredibly far behind from Chinese advancement, technology, education, literally everything. And I think that that's not on purpose. Like I feel like we're behind because they want us to be behind. They want us stupid, ignorant, and dependent on our government. They do not want us to be self-reliant, because if we are self-reliant, then we are not spending money into the capitalistic system. And it's not really good for us. I mean, if you think about it, we're the majority. The so-called poor people, even though we're not all poor, we're not billionaires and we're not millionaires. Even with the people that are millionaires, they're probably still not at the same level of billionaires as far as education, mentality, and that sort of thing. But it's like they purposely want us to be stupid, ignorant, and combative rather than productive and helpful. Hold on. So some of my clients, when they need recommendations for like doggy daycare and stuff like that, they'll ask me and I'll let them know. But I was telling one of my clients about the doggy daycare that I take my dog to, but my dog's 50 pounds and 60 pounds almost. And all of the other dogs that go to the daycare with him, they're all, the same size or a little bit bigger. And I told her about it. So she took her dog today and she said that she was a little nervous because he's only 15 pounds. She said she was a little nervous with all the big dogs that he might get trampled on. So she's gonna take him Wednesday and drop him off and like let him play and stuff like that. But she said that she was not sure if it was something that she could see herself doing long term, just because she didn't know if her dog would be okay with it, which I totally understand. But I told her about a second place that I used to work at, and they actually do play groups where it's like smaller dogs and then big dogs are in a separate group. So I told her about that place too. And if she's not comfortable with the place that I take Kimber, she can always take him to that other place. Whereas that other place is open 7 days a week, and the place I take Kimber is only a couple of days a week. So if she's looking for something that is a little bit more like a little bit more flexible so that she can drop her dog off anytime she wants, the other place is going to be a little bit more a little bit better for her. I only take my dog to daycare like maybe once, maybe twice a week. So for me, it's fine that she only hosts daycare twice a week, because doggy daycare is expensive. And I only like to take him a couple of days a week because right now that's what I can budget. And that works for me. But if she's wanting him to go like every single day, because she works from home, so I know she wants to get him out of the house. If she's wanting him to go every day, then she definitely needs to find a different place. But I thought, let's try that one first, because then her and my dog can play together. Kimber's a good dog, but not everybody is okay with their big dog being around small dogs, and their small dogs being around bigger dogs, which, I mean, it is what it is. Hey, Allie. I was listening into Fancy's live earlier. I don't if somebody can kind of fill me in on what was happening with Quiche and Perez Hilton. I missed all of that, and I have no idea what all that was about, but apparently Quiche or Cash, whatever, did an interview or a live with Perez, and it ended up not being very good because she wasn't really able to answer a lot of the questions that he had. So from my understanding on Fancy's live, they were saying that she just made herself look like she was very undereducated with the entire case. And if we're trying to get national eyes and mainstream media eyes on the actual truth about Gypsy, that didn't do anything to propel us forward. It actually took us backward. I think being proactive before reactive is a great key to life, Salem. I guess the biggest thing that I was thinking about is how do we as a society take down our oligarchy of a system? What is it that we can do as a society in order to tear down the 1%, because they're the ones who are keeping us in an oppressive state. So what do we have to do in order to knock them off of the top? I don't know that he likes Gypsy per se. I just don't think that he has a yes or a no against her. I don't think that he's pro Gypsy, and I don't think that he's quite honestly against her. I don't think that he has all the facts, Kathleen, which most people don't. And if he had all the facts, I don't think that he would be so naive about, oh, well, she's done all her time. You know what I mean? It's it with the same way that you and most everyone who was in support of Gypsy, when Gypsy got out of prison, everybody was supportive of her, and everybody was, championing her. And what? Where are you going? Marshalls?
Yeah.
For clothes?
No.
What's at Marshalls?
My serum capsule thingies.
Oh,
It's only at Marshalls.
that's crazy. I hope they have some.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Drive safe. What was I saying? Oh, everybody was championing her. Everybody wanted to see her succeed. And hey, girl. And she basically came out and acted like a damn fool. And I think that once people started to recognize that when she got out of prison, that she wasn't necessarily doing anything to better her life, that it was kind of like, what WTF? Hey, Queen, how are ya? I'm doing good. Salem, I think that a lot of people aren't recognizing, what it is that she has done because they don't want to admit that they were duped, that they were conned, that they were deceived. It's easier to lie to people about who you are, what you've done, than to convince them that you lied. You know what I mean? Like, it's thank you. Oh, what time do you get off? Thank you so much for liking the live. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, people, you can lie to anybody and they'll think that it's the truth. But for them to find out that you lied, they don't want to believe that because they don't think that a lot of people would lie about certain things. Yes, we do have to support one another. I didn't trust her either. I never did. When I started watching her interviews, to me she didn't seem honest, she didn't seem trustworthy, and I got a really bad vibe. Exactly. People hate to admit when they've been manipulated, so it's just easier to like pretend support or be naive to the actual truth. Yeah. And it is hard to say I was wrong. I was manipulated. I shouldn't have trusted what she was saying. I should have done more research before just believing. Because when a victim comes out and speaks out about things that they have been through, you do not, you want to believe the victim. You don't want to question every single victim that comes forward and question their story because that sends a bad message that you don't automatically believe victims and victims' rights. All the time, hurt people, all the time. So it's easier to just kind of stay behind that naivete of being ignorant and willfully not trying to learn any more information because you don't want to learn the truth. You just want to continue to stay ignorant. But on that note, I did find, excuse me, on that note, I did find that there were text message. Ignorance can be bliss, but it can also put you in a poor state of mind forever. It's just like being programmed. I did find these messages on, I think her name is Ashley Baby. Yeah, Ashley Baby's face. So apparently somebody requested a FOIA and was able to get messages between Gypsy and Aaliyah. And in those messages between Gypsy and Aaliyah, Gypsy wrote that the baby girl that her and Nicholas were going to have was going to be named Gabriella Gypsy Godejohn. So the whole thing about Aurora is not true. That's not true at all. Here's Gypsy's own words saying it was going to be Gabriella Gypsy Godejohn. My mom was also very abusive as well. You saw that? There was another one too where she talks about how that her medical records have been stable, and that she found out that she had a chromosome deletion that was causing all of her issues, and but that she's a fighter and she'll be okay. It's all in this message. Apparently, it was messages that Gypsy had whenever her and Aaliyah were communicating via text Facebook messages. Hey, Mandolin, we're just talking about Gypsy, our government, and that sort of thing. Yeah, so I don't know why these messages were not brought forward before, but I guess now that Nicholas's case is closed, more and more records are going to start coming out, and I think that that's where these messages came from. What about the reborn doll? So basically, this message says, let me find it. I can only read a part of it. It says something about they're going to have a snow wedding in a gazebo with red and white roses, and even plan children's name. If we have a son, it will be named after Nick. And if a girl, Gabriella. We are very serious. We say we aren't dating, that they are courting, because we are both Catholic Christians. I don't think you can be a Catholic and a Christian at the same time, but whatever. I'm not here to argue semantics on that. But then she says, anyways, my health has been stable. They found out I have a chromosome deletion, and that's why all the medical issues, but I'm a fighter. I will be okay. My mom's health has gotten worse over the years. She's got diabetes, heart problems, glaucoma, which affects the eye and the vision, liver disease, kidney failure, Parkinson's disease. So she's trying to keep up, but we had to stop doing the newsletter, and we have only had 3 movie nights this year and 1 last year. She had a kidney. Okay, I can't see the rest. But thank you, Jess. But apparently, these movie nights were a way for them to fundraise and make money. That would be lovely if they made a chat where you could share photos. I've never had a kidney stone. I don't know how painful that is, but I would imagine that having kidney stones be very painful. You have to have surgery for kidney stones? Oh my God. That's terrible. So I wonder if those were, yeah, if those were the reasons why she was in the hospital whenever she left Gypsy by herself. Oh my gosh, I can't text. I need to go get my nails done. They're too long. Oh my, Sophia, what kind of quesadilla are you eating? Are you eating just like a cheese quesadilla or chicken quesadilla? I love quesadillas. I need to make some. Thank you, Queen. I hear it's really painful. Oh, yeah, I bet that's good. Chicken cheese, jalapeno, and tomato. Oh my God. That sounds so good. Did you make it yourself or did you buy it? Please tell me you made it homemade. It's worse than labor, passing kidney stones. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Halo, things were no longer fun for Gypsy anymore because she was having to take care of her mom. She wasn't the one being doted on and taken care of all the time. Oh, I bet it's good. Club food is always good. You're so funny, Queen. I don't know it, Salem. I don't know if they'll open the case up or not. I think that everyone has suspicions that she's going to eventually commit another crime. So I think that everyone is just kind of hanging their hopes on her committing another crime and then throwing her under the bus for that crime. Because I feel like she is going to commit another crime. I also thought that it was yes, because people repeat patterns. She's definitely a pattern repeater. I mean, she's from the time she's gotten out of prison, she's repeated patterns. It's been pattern after pattern after pattern, just being repeated over and over again. So she will continue to do so. But another thing, too, is I thought it was really interesting that she's claiming that she doesn't want her daughter in the media, this, that, and the other. Mm, it's possible. It's definitely possible, Queen. She's claiming that she doesn't want her daughter in the media, this, that, and the other, that it's not safe, blah, 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 blah. I think that she knows that if she puts her daughter in the media, that the attention would then go from her Gypsy to her daughter, and narcissists cannot stand when the attention is not on them. And I think that she understood that when her mother got sick, that the attention shifted from Gypsy to her mother. And I think that that's why she was starting to resent her mother and be angry with her mother, because all of the attention was going to Dee Dee and not to Gypsy anymore. Because by that time, the sicknesses had kind of switched. At that point, Gypsy um had been, I guess, healthy for several years while her mother's health was slowly declining. So it was almost like there had been a role reversal happening, and she didn't like that very much. And because, yes, people loved Dee Dee. Um, and because she knew that everybody loved her mom, and she was jealous of that. I believe that could also be true as well, Halo, that the child has the chromosome deletion and she doesn't want anyone to know. You could tell. Oh, you could tell that her mom was really swollen. Oh my gosh, Miss Music, thank you. How did you like it? Have you used it yet? The face machine? No, she's not acting like a new mom would at all. Hey, Jamie. I don't know that she would want to put her child in the media if she knows that her kid is sick. You know what I mean? Because that's going to bring about an entire slew of questions and uncertainties about her medical records and that sort of thing. There was also some speculation about Gypsy talking about her medical records. And it was said that if she had really paid attention to her medical records, then she would have seen in the medical records that her mother had been tested for the chromosome deletion and it came back that her mother wasn't a carrier. But remember when she went on Kale Lowry's podcast, she was telling Kale Lowry that her mother had not been tested and that her dad had and that he didn't have it. And Kale was like, oh, well, could they use some remains to test it? Like, how morbid is that? I also agree. I think that you're right that she might not take her daughter to the doctor because she doesn't want to admit that her daughter is sick. Gypsy is struggling with admitting that she is sick in the public. It's like she wants everyone to believe that all these things happened to her because her mother was the one who was sick. And Gypsy wants to basically just like disassociate herself from the chromosome disorder entirely, which it's like you can't. It's all over your medical records. Like everything in your medical records stems back to the chromosome deletion. So her trying to disassociate from it is it's a little disturbing. Thank you, Brittany. She does also want her mother to be the villain. Thank you so much, Brittany. Right, I know that. I just thought it was weird that Kaylin would even suggest testing the remains as if she hasn't, you know, defamed her mother in the grossest way possible all over the internet to then try to dig up her remains to test for a chromosome deletion. Like, it's just sometimes I wonder if people think before they say things out loud. Oh, thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate that. Bye, Sophia. Have a good night. I'll see you again tomorrow. Did you miss that episode of Kale talking to Gypsy about digging up her remains? Not digging up her remains, but testing her mom's remains for the chromosome deletion, which is just weird. She does. She really wants to be normal, but you hear her all the time talking about how she was watching Disney and the trendy clothes that they were able to wear. What did she say? Oh, so she said that she didn't get to dress girly and somebody called her out on that and then she was like, "Well, I meant that I didn't get to dress in trendy clothes like the what the girls were wearing in on Disney Channel." She did get her mother did get cremated. Apparently Morbid and everybody on his panel bought an urn for Dee Dee, which is really kind. Yes, Dee Dee's sister has her ashes. She had really cute stuff at home. I mean, how was she dressing in red and black leather and looking like Anastasia from 50 Shades and all those other different outfits that she had? How was that not dressing girly? I know that when they went out in public, like she had to dress a certain way in order to carry on the charade, right? But when she was at home, it looked like she was able to do and dress as she pleased. Yes, she had an entire drawer full of wigs. There were a lot of wigs in there. So I'm sure they were nice wigs too. I think that 50% is very high when it comes to a chromosome disorder. Exactly. She was wearing BDSM gear at home. She had leather pants. It looked like she was wearing leather bras, leather jackets. Like the the girl was, I mean, she was wearing some different material. I think that Dee Dee was bedbound a lot of time. I think that her mom stayed in her bed because it was probably just the most comfortablest place for her to be. And if you look at the home didn't really look neat and tidy enough. And for somebody who kept their home very well put together and clean and organized, like Dee Dee had in the past, imagine the amount of anxiety that she would have gotten coming out of her room, seeing the absolute mess and chaos that her house had turned into. I also believe that, Brittany, that Dee Dee was trying to protect the world from Gypsy. I think Dee Dee knew that there was something mentally wrong with her daughter. And I think that whenever there were accusations Gypsy was making against her own grandfather for touching her sexually, I think that Dee Dee knew that she needed to get Gypsy away from everyone in order to prevent issues from happening where Gypsy is either lying on the family, hurting another family member. I don't think that she moved away as a way to isolate and seclude herself from the family. I think that she moved away because she knew that she had to, because her daughter was very sick minded and she wanted to be sure that her daughter didn't hurt anyone in her family. I think she did it out of love for herself and out of love for her own family and out of protection. I have not ever studied genome mapping. So I am not familiar with that at all. Exactly. Even the Christmas tree was still in the living room. Like she was just not taking care of the house at all. Gypsy didn't want to do a thing to help. I think that there's a difference in physically being able to do something and just being so lazy that you don't. And then if you also think about, like, Dee Dee didn't have a lot of money, she didn't have a lot of resources, and she had a chronically ill child. I mean, chronically ill. Always something happening where she was having to take this child to the doctors, to the hospitals, all these different things. and she had a deadbeat baby daddy who wasn't paying child support and was an absolute piece of shit. And so she had to get creative in how she came up with ways to make money. And I don't necessarily think that she was in the wrong for that, because I've had to do some things that I'm not proud of to make money to make sure that my kids ate. Like, as a mother, when you have children, you do what the fuck you have to do to make sure that you and your kids survive, you know? And I think that that's the mentality and that's the mindset where Dee Dee was, where she was constantly thinking of different ways to ensure that they were both able to eat and have a place to live, have clothes to wear, and have fun things to do. I don't know that I would have ever trusted Gypsy to give me insulin. Yeah, girl, you know it. If you wanted to, you would. That's a good saying. I know it's kind of overused, but I love it because that's the reality. If you wanted to do it, you would. Just like if she wanted to do it, she would. Or if he wanted to do it, he would. When we want to do things, we get it done. Oh, Miss Music. I think that she was doing a lot of role play with the toddler bed, and I know they didn't find any baby bottles, but I definitely think that she was pretending to be a little. I'm so sorry about your dad. I'm not really sure how Parkinson's affects the mind, the body, etc. But I'm sure he's really glad to have you there to help him, Brittany. Oh my gosh, Mandolin. What? She said that she knows a nurse who gave insulin to the wrong person and the lady DIED. That's so terrible. I think that she was portraying herself to be younger than she was so that she could make money online with men. That's why I think that whenever she got out, she wasn't immediately gravitating towards OnlyFans or another actual site, because she had already kind of lived that life once when she was living with her mom. Because you have to think about, her mother wasn't able to do a lot of the things that she had done in the past in order to make money, right? Because she was ill and unable to get up and walk and do a lot of things. So I think Gypsy resorted to selling herself online in order to make money. And I also think that she got addicted to making money, and that's the reason why she was stealing her mom's pain medication. And I think that she wasn't using the pain medication. I think she was selling it to make money. I think Gypsy felt very entitled to every dollar that her mother had, because I think that Gypsy felt like she was the reason why her mother even had that money. So she felt entitled to it in a way. I know that he appreciates having your help. That's awesome that you got a new car. What kind of car did you get? How exciting. That's the thing. Some of us are natural caretakers and enjoy caring for the people in our life. That is a brand new car, girl. Good for you. You deserve that. Hell yeah. I think a lot of us are natural caregivers and enjoy, hey Cambria, enjoy having somebody in our lives to nurture and to take care of. And I think that Dee Dee enjoyed being that type of person for her daughter. I don't think that Gypsy enjoyed, having to have that role reversal. I've never done like any sort of nursing career. Yeah, she's also very detached. That's why I can't imagine her actually being a good mother, because how are you able to be a good parent when you are emotionally void? Like, she doesn't seem like, what's the way to put it? Mm, she seems emotionally bankrupt. How about that? Emotionally bankrupt. Where I the best way to describe it is by saying that she has no emotions towards other people. And that's another thing that I never understood. If her mother was on insulin and Gypsy was using the internet to think of all these different ways to unalive her mother, wouldn't it have been easier for her to just overdo the insulin? I mean, wouldn't that have been the easiest thing to do? I don't know. I'm not a nurse, so I don't even know how that would work. I did watch an episode of what's it called? Deadly Roommates or something like that. And World's Worst Roommates or something like that on Netflix, and they were talking about one of the cases where the roommate was injecting the other roommate with insulin, and every time that she was injected, she would end up in the hospital, but no time when she was ever given the insulin was it ever too much that she went into, cardiac arrest or whatever, and and died from it. So maybe Gypsy wasn't sure if something like that would have been strong enough, or if it would have been too lengthy of a process, because every single time, thinking back to the World's Worst Roommate, thinking back to that episode, the girl probably injected her with insulin maybe 6 different times over the course of several months. And whenever she was in the hospital, she would get better. But then whenever she got out of the hospital, she would get worse. And thank you so much, Brittany. And whenever she would go back home, she would get worse. And then the doctors started to pay attention to that. Thank you so much for the gift. The doctors started to pay attention to that and they started to recognize, and that's when they started to do an investigation on the roommate because they were like, do you think your roommate could be the one behind this? And she was like, absolutely not. You know, we're so close. We've been roommates for 20 some odd years, had a kid and everything, but not together. But the woman that she was trying to poison had a child. And the other roommate that was poisoning her was trying to take her kid away. It was like a whole thing. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Let me look it up. I'm so glad that your sister did not name her daughter Gypsy. I'm so glad. I appreciate that, Brittany. That's so kind of you. That's what I'm thinking too. She might have tried. So let me try to find which one it is. Mm. Is this on? Yeah, this is on Netflix. Why is it not on here? Hey, Bajork. That's really smart too. I didn't even think about that. I think I have some money in my rewards too. This one's about a serial squatter. Hold on. Mm-mm. My best friend tried to kill me, I think is what it is. And it's about Rachel and Janie. It's season 2, episode 1. You guys have to go and watch that one because Rachel and Janie would sit down and they would be watching like true crime stuff on TV, and they would be discussing like, oh, if I was going to do it, I would have done it this way. And that's where they came up with the idea of using insulin. And then the roommate started injecting the other roommate with insulin. And when she got sick the first time, she tried to take her kid away from her. Like, it was like a whole thing. You saw it, it was so crazy. It's one of the only ones that I remember. I've never watched anything about the Turpins other than what Jordan did, like some of the interviews and stuff that they did after the fact. She did not notice that she was getting a shot because the roommate would do it in the middle of the night while she was literally asleep, Jess. While she was literally asleep is when she would do it. It was crazy. Crazy. That's why I say, like, I would never want either one of my kids living with a roommate because these bitches be crazy. Like, you literally can't trust even the people that you live with. If you have Netflix, It's season 2, episode 1. My BFF tried to kill me after the insulin didn't work. She went on the dark web and started buying MRSA. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And infected her roommate with MRSA, and the MRSA didn't unalive her. So then after hey girl, well, hey lady, I say girl, but we're old ladies. After the MRSA didn't do anything to her, then she went on the dark web and she bought Versa. And that's when the FBI or somebody got involved. Somebody got involved and they were like, "Do you know this person?" And they brought the roommate in and asked her, like, "What were you doing buying Versa, this, that, and the other?" I'm talking about the case on The Worst Roommate Ever. Rachel and Janie, my BFF, tried to unalive me. You got a new development? Oh my gosh, I can't wait. We were talking about her just a second ago. And then I started talking about insulin injections, and that got me onto The Worst Roommate Ever because my ADHD brain is just like, woo, 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 woo. Do you want to come up? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to let you up. Okay.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy. How are you? I was on your live earlier today. I was just listening in because I was at work.
Yeah. Did you hear the part of the discovery that we made on the microdeletion?
No.
I don't know why I never looked this up before. I've always wondered why they couldn't, they knew it was a chromosome deletion, so they had to do some amount of testing, but why they didn't know the right one, right?
Yeah.
And we've always wondered what the doctors were actually doing. Was Dee Dee really, was she taking her doctor shopping? Was she doing all these different things? And I can prove now that no, she wasn't, and the doctors were running the appropriate tests because, yes, she was informed, Dee Dee was informed when Gypsy was born that she had a microdeletion.
Right.
However, they did not know what microdeletion it was. Do you want to know why they didn't know what microdeletion it was?
Yes, why?
Because the 1q21.1 microdeletion was not discovered until 2008.
So they didn't even know what the 1q211 was until 2008. Like how to link them two together?
The first case.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, here, I'll read it for you. The first case of 1q21.1 microdeletion syndrome was identified in 2008. This rare chromosomal change was discovered by Metford et al., which means the rest of the people that helped on with it, while screening patients with developmental delays, autism, or congenital anomalies.
Wow.
And let me further go on because this is even more important. The 1q21.1 microdeletion is a deletion by most people, so like the average person that has this thing, of about 1.35 million base pairs in the Q21 region of chromosome 1, which means that's the average person having it, okay?
Yeah.
Gypsy has a 2.74, which is double.
Oh, wow.
That. She almost does not have a long arm of the chromosome 1 at all. It's about 25 to 30 pieces of information. She's missing 25.
Wow.
Can you imagine trying to put a puzzle together of 30 pieces with only 5 fucking pieces?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. So she's losing such a substantial part of this. This, to me, I want to do studies to understand if this could be why she has such a wealth of medical problems as well as behavioral and cognitive problems. This could explain it all.
I think that once I looked up the issues associated with the chromosome deletion, I understood why her mother kept her so isolated because of the behavioral issues and the psychological issues. I feel like Dee Dee knew that she was dangerous.
Yes, I agree.
In many ways, not just in like, oh, she might unalive another person, but I feel like she knew that she was dangerous in other ways, like with the pathological lying, because when you are a pathological liar like that, you're not thinking about the lies that come out of your mouth. You're just lying. You don't care who the lie is about and who the lie hurts. You just want to lie just to get your way or to feel important or whatever.
Right, and now we have confirmation that in 2011, Gypsy personally knew about the chromosome disorder, was upset about the chromosome disorder, talked with Aaliyah about the chromosome disorder.
I saw those.
Rod and Christy and Dee Dee all knew. They 100% did the testing on Dee Dee. They all knew it did not come from Dee Dee. They knew that it came from Rod's side at that point. They've all known all along while they've been lying about this, and this is the entire reason right here why we are in the mess that we are in with her, because she is so delusional. I believe in 2011 when I believe she had a psychotic break.
Yeah.
I think that's when all of this shit started happening. It was Dan. It was the BB pew pew. It was the running away. It was the this. It was the that. All these different things in 2011, because that's when the confirmation that she was really sick. And I'm sure that Dee Dee probably did have a conversation with her that said, look, I don't know what you think you're doing with these older men and running all over the place, but Gypsy, you are not well. You're sick. You have problems. You're never going to have just a regular everyday life. You're going to have these problems for your whole life. And I think that was the inciting incident.
Yeah, I think
you're never going to have love and a cow tongue in the backyard. I'm sure she's convinced herself that that's what happened. If she has any of the cluster B personalities, which her mother has one of them, by the way. So if they have any of those, if she had any of that, she could have literally convinced herself of all of this. And I truly believe she has. I think she believes her own lies. And the fact that Christy and Rod know, and that they are doing absolutely nothing to hold her accountable or help her be less delusional is very, very dangerous. And Christy and Rod should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. You failed her once and you're failing her again.
They continue to fail her. So my question and what I don't seem to understand is why, I guess, why does she want to disassociate from this illness so desperately? What?
Because she admits that it's true, and she admits, she makes up that. So finally, she denies it, right? Then I force her to admit it because I'm showing everything, which is why they're so mad about the medical records this year. They're not mad about anything else. That's why they're mad about it. I forced her to admit to it. I had forced her and Rod and Christy to all admit that they knew about it in 2011. So the only thing that they can do is to continue on with the delusional lie of now it's, oh, well, yeah, we knew about it, but I'm part of the 75%, which is not an actual statistic anywhere in any study ever. If it is, Gypsy, I'd love for you to post the study, please. That she's one of the 75% that doesn't have these symptoms. She was unscathed, right?
Yeah, she went totally unscathed, but you can literally look at her and tell that that's a lie.
If she does not accept those things, then she will never accept the fact that the reason she unalived her mother was for nothing and that she was wrong, and she convinced herself of this. I don't think her psyche can handle admitting it.
So I think that you're right. I think that once Dee Dee and Gypsy learned of the 1Q211, I think Dee Dee tried to have an honest, realistic conversation about what to expect for the future, and that she was trying to explain to her that you're probably not going to have anything like a normal life. You're probably not going to be able to find a husband. You're probably not going to be able to have children. And I think that Gypsy really resented her for that. And that's the reason why she wanted to take her out. And I think
Yes.
that's the reason why she's been so focused on finding a man and getting pregnant,
Yes.
because she's
Yes.
been wanting to not only prove her mother wrong, but prove to herself that she can actually have the things that her mom was saying she might not ever have.
Right. Hey, Suze, did you hear me? I don't know if you were in here earlier, Suze, but they didn't even discover the 1Q21.1 as an actual disorder until 2008. Within 4 years. I want you guys to understand that. 4 years. Okay. They did all these testing. They identify it in 2008. It only took them 4 freaking years to run a test and determine what this was. Can you imagine? Like, do you even know how unlikely that is for it to happen that freaking fast, from discovery to someone getting a test and having it?
Who was the first case?
Let me look it up. Let me see.
Yeah, like who was the person that they found? Was it?
I don't have a whole lot of information on it, but I'm working on it now that I found this. I will look into it.
Like, I wonder if it's the girl that they have as the poster child.
Maybe.
I wonder if that's. I wonder if that was the first person. Hey, True Crime and
I
T-shirts.
might be able to find the study. Just let me see if I can find the study.
Oh, hey, Phoenix. Hey, Kayla. And how? I know Gypsy was saying that her daughter would be like 50%, but I'm wondering if maybe it's possible if her daughter will have more of a chance of getting the 1Q2 1.1, more than 50%, if hers was so severe.
Okay, so let's see here. We tested for the presence of this is the actual study, reading from the abstract.
Okay.
It says we tested for the presence of microdeletions and microduplications at a specific region of chromosome 1Q2 1.1 in 2 groups of patients with unexplained mental retardation, autism, or congenital anomalies, and in unaffected persons. We identified 25 persons with a reoccurrent 1.35 MV deletion within 1Q21.1 from screening 5,218 patients.
Wow.
So only 8 of the 25 had arisen de novo, which is meaning that it was not inherited from either parent, and it's like an anomaly that just happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's only 8 of the 25 that they identified were inherited from a mildly affected parent. In these 3 patients, were inherited from an apparently unaffected parent in 6 patients, and were of unknown inheritance in 8 patients. So basically they're saying that there were 3 that had parents that had a mild problem.
Mm-hmm.
There were 8 that had unknown. There were 6 that apparently had an unaffected parent, but doesn't mean that they're not a carrier for it.
Okay.
And then there were 8 patients of unknown inheritance. And that still doesn't mean that it was all. It proves that it was de novo. It's just meaning that they weren't able to identify it in the parents, so it could still be somewhere else in their like genealogy farther down the line, ancestral. But they identified that only 8 of them, they could not find why this happened.
That's so crazy. What I was...
I'm going to put out the study. I'll put out the study about it, because it actually talks about the whole thing, about what their study was, what they did. And it also goes on to prove that so originally what I told you guys we had was the karyotype testing that said it did not appear that she had a chromosome disorder based on the karyotype.
Mm-hmm.
But then the microarray was in that too, and we didn't have those pieces of paper for whatever reason. I'm trying to give Ty the benefit of the doubt. She said she gave it to us. She just says it might have been in so many different drives that we didn't see that part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. We didn't see it. Once we saw the microarray is the thing that they're indicating is the only way to identify this.
Wow.
That it cannot be done through like your normal genetic testing. They have to run a very specific task looking for specific things.
That's so interesting. I did also want to ask you about the whole Quiche and Perez Hilton situation. I heard you talking about it earlier, but I was working, so I couldn't really like chime in and ask questions about it. But what was going on with that?
Well, okay, so I guess apparently Perez dropped in on one of Kesha's lives recently. He's been kind of making the rounds right now because when I did my interview on Amy Ray and Marge's platform a couple weeks ago, Amy had messaged me and said, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but Perez asked for an invite to the live tonight because my friend was telling him about this and she knows him. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Perez, but I don't really like him all that much. I think he's a little bit, over the top and he doesn't get things right all the time.
Right.
But he's been sniffing around this, okay? So apparently he's scrolling, ends up on Kesha's live, and he asked her, what, can you give me some examples of, she's like, well, she just lies all the time. And he's like, okay, could you give me a specific example? And she failed at being able to give him something specific. She was, I think she was nervous. I think she was fangirling because she does. She did that with Ryan as well. And I think that she even said, I believe that somebody showed me the clip. I think in the clip she said something about, I may not be the best person for this, or someone in the chat might have said that. And that's the truth. That's the whole truth. Is that there was a missed opportunity right there. If she had just said, oh my God, she has a microdeletion, Perez, and that means that none of the medical problems that she's claiming she did not have, that's not true. She actually has all of them. It's based on this microdeletion. If she just said that, fabulous. But instead, she kind of just him-hawed around. She didn't really give him any concrete information. So I'm scrolling. I didn't even know this really happened. I'd heard about it a little bit, but I had no clue what actually happened. I'm scrolling this morning. I accidentally end up on live because I was trying to see if we could go live yet, and we couldn't. So I immediately get out of the live. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be live yet. So I'm scrolling and I see Bree because when I was leaving, when TikTok was being shut down, I unblocked a lot of people because I wanted them to hear my take on what had happened over the last, year on TikTok and how I felt that TikTok was very instrumental in playing a part in getting truth for Dee Dee out there and Nicholas.
I agree.
And so I have the clip. Go ahead and send her the clip. And so I saw Bree calling her out, and Bree basically was like, you sounded like an idiot. You couldn't even articulate, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I hate to agree with Bree, but in this instance, she did not come off as educated about this, and she's been following this for a year. Why is she not educated? Because she hangs out with people that don't want to talk the case and are more interested in the hobby horse she's riding.
Yeah, that's where I came in. That's where I came in whenever you were on the live. And I was like, what is going on? But like I said, I couldn't pop in because I was working. So I really I wish I could have seen that, because I think that, like you said, it would have been really, really vital if she had even mentioned the fact that she was lying about the chromosome disorder and not knowing that she didn't have it, because we now have proof that she knew in 2011 that she knew she had it, and that was the cause for all of the issues. She says it in her own words. I found a screenshot from a creator, Angel Baby. I don't know if
I know her.
Yeah. So she's real focused on the facts, which is one thing that I like about her, and one thing that I really enjoy about you too, because the rumors just make it really hard. It makes it really hard to trust what people are saying. And it also makes it really hard to come across as a credible source of information when you are spreading rumors and you are just slam talking other creators. Like, that's not beneficial for anyone. And it's definitely not helping us with the
Right.
ultimate goal, which is exposing her for the liar that she is. And I think that goal needs to be primary above everything else. And body shaming and all this other stuff is just, it's really unhelpful.
It is, and it's clouding the story that
Yes.
needs to be told.
It is.
Right now, we should only be focusing on justice for Dee Dee and getting the information out there. You want to argue with other people? Fine. I don't give a shit what you do. If you want to sit on a live and talk trash about each other, I think that you're both fucking guilty.
Right.
I think that if one of you would stop, maybe the other one would stop. Or, hey, here's a thought process. Both of you stop. I don't know. But it's tit for tat with these people, and that's the problem. And then they want to run around and, talk crap on me and lie about me and try to discredit me for what? I don't know. I don't know why they're doing this. But fine, whatever. I have my thought processes, but it's here nor there because all you're doing is keeping the word of truth from getting out there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do have it on. I just put it on my YouTube, the replay of the TikTok. So
Okay, cool.
It is there for you guys. Apparently, Barb, straight out of context, who was in my live the entire time, streamed it to her YouTube.
Oh, wow.
The whole live, gave no commentary, and now the people that were in there causing problems are all over there running their mouths on her freaking page, and one of them literally outed herself. She's one of the ones I kicked out for asking questions about my dog and everything else and telling me that we all just need to get along. I was like, no, I don't. And then she comes over to my platform while I'm still live, apologizes to me, tells me, oh, I'm so sorry that you misunderstood. I literally wrote back to her and I was like, look, this is the reason why this happens. You don't understand that people come into my live just to harass and ask stupid questions, and
Yeah.
they do so passively. So that when a regular person is looking at it, they're like, well, why is Fancy upset that they're asking about her dog? They don't know.
They don't know.
The person who asked it knows. And they act like that. And they're like, oh, you just blocked me for no reason. And I'm so sorry. I literally told the lady, I'll unblock you. I'm sorry. Maybe I did misread that you were asking that. But you'd asked a couple of questions. And I was done with you by the time I said for the third time, hey, no, we're not talking about that. Then she goes over to Barb's and is laughing by making a comment and saying, ha, 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 I'm the Deborah that she kicked out. Ha, ha. So no, you're not sorry, Deborah.
So she was proud of it.
Yes, and it's like, did you think I wouldn't find that? I mean, literally, you posted my entire live, Barb. Did you think I wasn't going to hit you with the copyright strike? It's one thing to use my content in little pieces to prove points, but if you're just going to stream my entire live to your platform and monetize it, no.
Yeah, that's unfair.
No.
That's another reason why I really fancy when we were in Jen's live, I was like trying to tell these people, you can think whatever the fuck you want about Fancy. She has the facts and she has the knowledge. It's stupid of y'all to come in chats and try and be down there behind the keyboard and talk shit when you don't know what you're talking about.
Especially when we're trying to have a conversation about things like we were talking with. We had Allie on, and we're talking about the microdeletion and understanding the microdeletion that her son has and their husband has, and that we think her stepdaughter has. And you're in the chat being an asshat.
Yeah, causing drama, and we were actually having a very good discussion.
Right. So then, I know she does. I know she posts a lot about me, but she has never, ever, ever used my entire fucking live. And I'm sorry, I struck her. I'm admitting it. I struck her, and I will strike anyone else who does the same thing. If you want to use all my content and then you want to sit up there and make fun of me, no, you're not going to do that. You have no right to use my content in its entirety like that without giving any type of commentary, no nothing, and do it to make me look bad in some way. I didn't bring up trafficking in my live. You know who brought up trafficking in my live was my husband. And he asked me, after hearing all the things I was saying about Mike Stanfield and David Blanchard and the VisionCon people and everything that was going on and all that, he was like, do you think that they were trafficking her without Dee Dee's knowledge? And I said, it's a possibility. Well, now, of course, I'm the one promoting this whole thing. And, oh, she's on trafficking now. Look at her. She's got a new brand new suit. Well,
Yeah, I feel like people will take one small comment of a conversation and take it way out of context.
And then the first comment on Barb's Live was, oh, well, this is Fancy ignoring them and paying no attention. Pathetic. What they didn't know was I had already been on Jen's Live where you all came in there and disrupted someone else's panel. That's my biggest problem. You want to come in my house? I'll take care of you. Don't worry. I'll show you the damn door. But when I'm on someone else's panel, what gives you the right to disrupt the entire panel for that person?
Yeah.
How petty and ridiculous are you?
Yeah, and that's a big thing of Jen's is like she's always saying, I respect anybody who's on my panel and don't bring the drama and the bullshit.
Same reason why I said when people came into my live and I had Katie on my live and we were trying to explain something that we had found together, that I said, no, you're not coming in here and starting in on Katie on my live. We don't do that here.
Yeah.
Do I have problems with Katie? Yeah, I've had problems with Katie. Do I still have problems with Katie? Not really. I mean, do I think she's the best person in the whole wide damn world and we're going to sing Kumbaya and braid our hair later? No.
No, but unfortunately, I'm not a Katie Joy fan as well. But I will say, she has some inside knowledge, just like you, from being around Christy and being friends with Christy.
Yeah.
Y'all both have that in common.
Yep. And she's been lied to in the same way that I was lied to. And it even took her, like I showed her the medical records the first time when I showed them to her, started looking through everything, she found things. But she was still arguing with me about things that I hadn't shown her yet, you know? And she's like, no, I don't think that. I go, Katie, please, you don't have 2011. You don't have 2009. Please just.
She was missing a lot.
Yeah, and like, so please don't do that. And now she's come back and she's like, oh my God, you're right. I was wrong. I'm like, thank you. You know,
well, I think that the Blanchards are very, very good at using words to manipulate the people that they're trying to indoctrinate with their narrative. You know, they do a really good job of manipulating. Like, I feel like Ryan was probably a little less receptive to the manipulation tactics, and that's the reason why.
That's why they let Ken come in because he can be controlled.
Yeah, I think that Ryan kind of
his own chaos. Don't get that twisted.
Yeah, I think
Ken is a piece of crap, and I'll say it into his face.
Oh yeah, he feeds into the bullshit just like Christy. He's there for the fame and the money.
Okay, look, here's the deal, guys. So much has happened in 8 years.
It really is. So much has happened this year.
I know. I sound insane when I say certain things because who could believe that all of this happens, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. You're used to dealing with everyday regular people. I would assume that most of you do not deal on a regular basis with murderers and con artists and liars. You know, okay? I would assume that that's not part of your daily freaking life. So for you to sit here and be like, oh, there's no way all that happened. Fancy's crazy. You have no right to say that. First of all, you weren't there and you didn't live it. And second of all, you do understand we're dealing with crazy people.
Yeah.
They unalived a woman.
And her parents basically covered it up. I mean, they're all covering for her now. They all are. I think
they used Ryan. I think she was always talking to Ken. Like, I do too. I never believed back in the day. I never believed they broke up. It wasn't until she married Ryan that I even believed that they broke up. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that they ever did either.
No.
I think that they were
that the media would get off his ass.
Yeah, I think that they were probably talking throughout the entire time. I think Ken knew that she was going to marry Ryan and that was the plan for her to get out of prison, go live in Louisiana, and that they would get back together as soon as she was in Louisiana. Because she wanted to make sure that she was in Louisiana close to her dad. Like, that was part of the plan. Because think about how far away Texas is to Missouri. It's not close. But Texas is literally right next to Louisiana. So that was her plan.
Yeah. Right. And she didn't want to go to Christy. She doesn't like Christy.
And Christy doesn't like her.
She doesn't like her. They don't like each other. No matter how much they want to pretend in public that they do. No.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm not yelling, guys. I just talk really loud.
I do
part of that
too.
is Part of that's my passion, but I also have hearing loss.
I do
I
too.
don't even realize I'm talking so loud when I do talk,
Yep.
and I talk that loud because I can't hear other people, so I assume that they can't hear me.
That's exactly how I feel too. I spent 8 years grooming dogs with the blowers in my ears, not wearing ear protection. So I constantly feel like I need to speak louder because I can't hear myself.
Right.
So I feel like they can't hear me either, but it's not that I mean to be loud and like obnoxious. It's just I can't help it.
My family are forever telling me that I need to quiet down, and I'm like, I'm not yelling. They're like, you're yelling. I'm like, no, I can show you yelling.
Like I'm trying not to yell.
This is not yelling.
Hey Kelly. Hey Skittles.
Anyway, I just can't believe that I never even looked up that because I mean, we only found out about the microdeletion and confirmed it this year, this last year.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe I never, I looked at like WebMD and I looked at all these different things and I looked at other studies, but I never ever looked up when was it first discovered. I didn't even think about that. What the question originally was someone, I don't remember who it was, asked me, Fancy, when were microdeletions and genetic things like that, when were they first being able to be tested for? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, let me look. So I did, and it said 1950s. And I was like, well, that's not helpful. Damn it. And then I was like, but wait a minute. If they were testing in the 1950s for microdeletions, maybe this microdeletion wasn't known yet. Right? So that's when I typed in. I was like, this is exactly what I typed in. When was the 1Q21.1 microdeletion identified? And it immediately came back with the 2008. And I was like, son of a bitch, why did I never look for that before? So it proves that all the doctors and Dee Dee were always doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were trying to identify what it was in 2011, only 4 years after it ever being even discovered. They figure out what it is. And what does Dee Dee tell the doctors? Thank you very much. I no longer am interested in looking for any
I saw that.
physicians.
I saw that note.
I could no longer keep up with coming here because she was sick herself, and she said, I only want to do, she brought her to the 3 main doctors, like her pediatrician. She saw the neurologist that identified the chromosome disorder, and she saw Dr. Beckerman. She had some dental things and things like that ongoing after that. But most of it was just actual care, managing care.
So now that mostly everyone knows about the chromosome disorder, I think that it's really important to correlate the issues that she had medically back to the chromosome deletion, because her going on with this false narrative that she went totally unscathed, it's just impossible to believe. Like, I'm unsure how people are actually believing that, because if you've even looked, even if you've just skimmed some of the issues in her medical record, you would clearly see that she did not go unscathed, and that the ear tubes, the asthma, all of the things.
Listen to this very basic description. So I already told you it's normally about a 1.35 million base, okay? It literally goes on to say in this little bulleted thing, it says it's difficult to identify this deletion using conventional cytogenic banding techniques. Most people with the 1Q21.1 microdeletion are identified through a chromosomal microarray analysis, like I said, she had done. The deletion can be inherited from a parent, or it can be de novo, meaning it's not inherited from a parent on certain occasions. People with 1Q21.1 microdeletion syndrome may have developmental delays, intellectual disabilities, or autism spectrum disorders. They may also have cardiac, genitourinary, I'm assuming something with genes, and behavioral abnormalities. That's just a basic description of it.
Right.
When you go to the rarechromosome.org site where they have the whole pamphlet, I'm telling you, read every single thing. She has every one of them.
Every one of them.
The problems with the ears, the musculoskeletal problems, the feeding problems, you name whatever she has, and I can literally look at a 13-page pamphlet and tell you, yep, that's right here. Right there, that's a symptom right there.
So that's interesting. So nobody knew about it until 2008?
No. It wasn't even an actual discovery diagnosis of it.
So it lets us know even more that Dee Dee was all about getting care for Gypsy, and she wasn't just trying to be like this hypochondriac or whatever they're calling it, the Munchausen by proxy type deal. She was literally just trying to figure out what was going on.
Right. And when she was sent to Flasterstein, okay, first of all, Dr. Steele and Dr. Flasterstein both know that she does not have muscular dystrophy. It was ruled out in 2000, and in 2001 it was confirmed.
Right.
Okay, but Dee Dee continues to tell people that that's what she has. Do you want to know why I think that is? Because she had no other explanation for it. So for her to think, the doctors are not doing what I need them to do. They're not identifying this. I'm going to say it's this because that's the thing that makes most sense to me. And I want a second opinion. I want to know what's wrong. And she goes into Flasterstein's. You know, she didn't just say, oh, she has muscular dystrophy. She also said it could be cerebral palsy. So she went in saying, look, I think my kid either has muscular dystrophy or cerebral palsy or whatever. And this is why I don't know what's going on. He calls down to, the doctors who disproved the muscular dystrophy, and he's like, okay, I have confirmation, Dee Dee, that it is not muscular dystrophy, okay? Absolutely not. It's also not, it's also not this. And he is being told by her primary care physician that they've done all these things and he can't figure this out. So he mentions Munchausen by proxy because he didn't have the ability to run the other tests yet, And think about this. That was 2009. If she had got to go back to him and got tested by Flasterstein, he could have identified this in 2009, 1 year after it was discovered, possibly. But who knows if that test was even available fully at that time.
But you're thinking that the muscular dystrophy part came in because she couldn't explain why Gypsy's muscles were weak?
Yes. And that's what someone told her, so that's what she decided to believe. And I think she kept continuing to look for a reason. Maybe she even said, I don't know, they tell me she doesn't have this, but I don't understand any other reason why, right?
Right.
Well, here's the one thing, though. Medical fraud was committed. Not by Dee Dee. Do you know who committed medical fraud?
Gypsy.
Any doctor who continued after 2005 to chart muscular dystrophy, knowing in her chart
that it wasn't that.
100% had. I have the facts to prove that they had it, and I have the files from Dr. Steele where I found these documents in the first place. They knew it, and they continued to chart it. Why? Because they can make more money running more tests.
Right. I also wanted to ask another question about the paperwork that you have regarding the attorney, the power of attorney paperwork.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that? Because when they show it on like Lifetime or whatever, they make it seem like Dee Dee had Gypsy, deemed mentally incompetent, that she was, just like this person who couldn't make any decisions on her own. But there was somebody who pointed out that the power of attorney was really if Gypsy was unable to make medical decisions on her own, that it wasn't a power
declined.
Right, that it wasn't a power of attorney naming Gypsy mentally incapacitated.
Okay, so first of all, there's a lot to unpack there because there's a lot of story, okay? Because there's a story there. First of all, no, she did not have a power of attorney over her that granted her the ability to say that, Gypsy's incompetent or any of those things. She had a power of attorney that the hospital insisted she get once they identified that Gypsy was over the age of 18. they wanted to have paperwork drawn up that in case something happened to Gypsy, that Dee could make these decisions for her. Okay?
Yeah, and that makes sense because she was over the age.
Right. Well,
Right.
then, and that's what happened in 2009 originally, and they didn't want to take the guardianship papers. They were very upset. They wanted an actual judge to rule. No judge would rule. Steele and Beckerman move her case from Springfield to Kansas City, and then it happens again. So in that period of time where it happens again, Dee does go look for a power of attorney, but according to the law office where the person is that signed for it, like the notary, I contacted the notary and they said to me that they did not sign that they never finished the paperwork, and that one of their clamps was stolen at that time, so they're wondering if that's how the clamp got on it, because they never finished the paperwork. They never filed the paperwork anywhere, nothing. So it was never actually certified, okay? And Christy swears, oh, well, Dee probably stole it. No, I bet Gypsy probably stole it.
I bet so.
Okay? Or the person could just not remember, for crying out loud. But guess what? You asked if I have a copy of that? I don't have one copy of it. I have 5.
Oh, wow.
They all say something different.
So did she or did she not have legal power of attorney?
No, she did not.
How do they all say something different?
Was an agreement with she was able to provide paperwork to the hospital that said that if somehow Gypsy was incapacitated, she could act as her proxy, her power of attorney. And Gypsy then, for the actual surgery that they were going in to do, she signed her own documents for that and agreed to sign them saying, yes, I'm over the age of 18. I know I'm over the age of 18. There is the hospital, like I can't remember who believed that there was not enough evidence for her to be deemed cognitively unaware. The hospital deemed this, like they came to this conclusion. And so they did not feel that a court of law would pass this for her. So Gypsy had to go ahead and sign for that thing anyway. So all she really had was, if something happened while Gypsy was in the damn freaking surgery, Dee could be asked, hey, what do you want to do?
Right, so if something were to go wrong in surgery, like when she's under anesthesia or something, then Dee could make a decision.
Right. So how do all of them say something different?
Because none of them are real.
Oh, okay,
Who
okay.
gave them to me? You know who I got them?
Who?
Christy handed them to me from inside the house where she collected them.
So, they created those on their own.
There's 5 documents. I don't know where the fuck they came from, but they sure as shit were never filed properly. But each one of them says something different. And Aunt Rachel, the one that she wrote, and she told, I didn't do this in the first letter and everything. Aunt Rachel is who was supposed to be the witness to it.
Oh, wow.
I was gonna say, wasn't there somebody who was helping them make fake documents?
Well, Gypsy talked about it in her book. Gypsy talked about.
I haven't got to that part yet. I'm only on chapter 6 right now. I read the whole thing, but I didn't read it I was just reading it to get through it the first time.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that there was somebody who was helping them make fake documents.
Yeah, well, no, not helping. That she puts it as Dee was the one who was making the fake documents, that she had this little side business where she was creating fake documents and charging money for it. But I'm curious because anytime Gypsy says that somebody else is doing something, to me, it feels like a projection, and that she's hiding the truth about something that she did, and she's placing blame on the other person. So I'm curious if this was her, if this was what Gypsy was doing, and that Gypsy was the one who was making money off of these fictitious papers.
Gypsy's
and
the one that was on the internet all the time.
Yeah, exactly, not Dee. So it would make more sense if Gypsy was the one who was behind all of these fictitious documents that, she created a business out of or whatever.
Especially if she was already trying to plot the fact that she didn't believe her mother anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's another thing that I have to add to that. currently, right now, there are people that are connected to the family, and they're connected on both sides. Okay, so Petrie and Blanchard, that are accusing Dee Dee's ex-best friend and my ex-partner that was in with me, that did all the medical records, Titania, who was Dee Dee's friend and is a nurse and all of that. They're now accusing her because Melissa Moore came out and said she had seen medical documents with the bone marrow treatment that was that was fake, but it actually was given to her, that she really saw the bone marrow treatment and that was all fake. And how could a person... I believe that paper does exist. I do believe she had leukemia when she was 5, and I do believe that was the treatment she was given. But now that I've brought that up and I've shown it different times where Melissa has said it, not on one occasion, but 2 different occasions, now they're accusing Titania of forging that document and making that document and giving it to...
Oh, wow.
I thought it was like Titania working with Dee Dee at the doctor's office or wherever they work together, making these... making some paperwork.
Nope, that's the lie that they're telling right now.
Oh, okay. They're trying to blame it on her.
Try and blame Titania because they know that I've gone on to something again. I'm on to something, and I caught them in their little fucking bullshit lies, and I've been saying, well, I want to see that paperwork. I want to see that test. I want to see that bone marrow transplant. Listen, because if it actually happened, then that proves that she did have cancer, and she needed it because no doctor has given bone marrow transplants without absolutely tons and tons of freaking proof of the fact that she needs a damn bone marrow transplant.
Exactly.
It's not the same thing as putting ears in your tube. You know,
is there
ears in your tube, tubes in your ear?
Is there a way to test bone marrow before you actually would do like a transplant?
Yes, there's a biopsy that would have been done.
Maybe it was a biopsy that she had done, and she's trying to make it sound more
sinister. I don't know. Either way, it obviously happened in some capacity, because why would that be the thing she just makes up randomly?
Right.
And said it 2 times. I'm like, no, and Ty and I talked about this because I went to her and I said, look, they're trying to frame you right now, and I know it. And I know we don't always see eye to eye since everything that happened. I know you're very compassionate to Gypsy at this point. I don't know how she got you back to being compassionate. I don't know why you're talking to Christy. I don't understand any of these things, Titania, but I'm not going to allow you to be freaking framed for something I absolutely know 100% you did.
Right, because we all know how good they are at throwing other people under the bus.
Right, and
for illegal activity.
She's like, I don't know. And so she even was talking about asking. Like, she's like, I'm just going to ask Melissa if she's freaking seen it or not. I want to see it. Because she was involved in all of that. They used her. They used her to give Melissa all the things that we collected together because she had a copy that I had. And I was the only one that had all of what I had because Christy would just send it to me. To send me it. She wouldn't even keep, I don't even think she kept a copy. So they used Titania's copies so that Melissa could have all these, and they didn't have to do the job again. Because they knew they weren't going to get all those things again. I pushed for Steele to give me his records. And I'm pretty sure that's why I got the Louisiana records that I did.
You may end up uncovering some fraud shit and getting them in trouble again.
Well, I'm just saying.
That would actually be really helpful.
Nothing's out of the realm of possibility.
Nothing's out of the realm of possibility, and nothing is as it appears. And this is not just a simple, everyday girl falls in love with boy and unalives her mama. No, it's not that. And it's not an abuse case of, oh my God, this poor girl was so abused and she unalived her mama. No, it's none of those things.
Right, because it's so much more than that.
Yeah, I want to answer a question. Someone in the comments asked, yes, it's the same Titania that was friends in like high school with Dee Dee.
Yes, that same friend. And Suze, I think, was in, she's either in here or she was in another live I was in earlier, is the other person. So in that video where Dee Dee's all dressed up in a witch costume,
there's 2 friends, and they were like the 3 musketeers at the time.
That's the 3 of them. That's Ty, Suze, and her. And I think that Ty has... Unfortunately, this is where I think Ty is. Ty knew that Dee Dee was very dramatic, that she lied a lot when they were teenagers, but lots of teenagers.
Well, I'm sure that she also in the end ended up benefiting from some of the scams because we know that she did other things to get friends.
Yeah. But I think that she feels responsible in some way for not catching this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a survivor's guilt for her friend,
Yes.
probably.
Yes, it is. And I think that that's where she's at. And I've talked to her about that. I said, they've manipulated you.
Yeah.
Because you want to know, okay, here's another part of it that, and I'm sorry, I don't care whether if she gets mad and doesn't want to, want me, but the reason that she believed that Colleen was wrong in what she was doing and wanted to report her to the board of licensing for her nursing degree.
For giving you the information that she gave you?
Right. For
okay.
the things, doing the podcast and all those things. And even though Ty was a person that participated in all of that, well, when she broke away from me and she started talking with Christy this last couple of years, and now she has Melissa Moore's number, so she was involved in all of that. Okay. They set her up with the Yorker, who appears in Prison Confessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Yorker is an MVP expert, and we've talked to the Yorker before. But B has never looked at the freaking documents either.
So how can somebody go on TV and talk about a case that they've never seen the medical records for?
Exactly.
How is that possible?
No, I know. I agree. I don't understand it. I don't.
Especially a medical professional.
Right. So they go, and B is both. She is psychological and medical. She is not just one or the other. She does both. So Ty goes to her and talks about the ethics of this, explaining it in the way that Christy wants her to explain it to the person that she wants her to explain it to, so that B can continue to tell her, no, I really do think we need to do something. They didn't even just go to the board. They went further than that, trying to get Colleen completely ruined because B convinced her that, oh, yeah, you're right. That's very unethical for a nurse to do that. No, she was not acting as a nurse. She is a medical professional expert analyzing the records that were given to us legally. She did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. Just like you're sitting up there talking about Munchausen by proxy, B. Well, I have a question for you. Do you not understand what this case has done to you guys' case of trying to bring awareness to Munchausen by proxy?
Yeah, it taints everybody.
It destroyed your reputation when it all comes out?
Yeah.
Fuck. But Christy used that to get Titania to be mad at me, mad at Colleen, and try and destroy Colleen's life. But then Christy's like, I never wanted Colleen to lose her license. Really? That's funny.
Because weren't they championing for it? Yeah.
You're also the one who talked to Kendall about it, and all the others, and Brandy and all them to do it. Tori too. You all tried to bully her. You tried to harass Colleen. You tried to blackmail Colleen, and when that didn't work, y'all went and tried to take her entire livelihood away. She's a young mother with 2 children, and she's the breadwinner of the family. How dare all of you?
Oh,
that's so sick.
Shame on all of you. Shame. And you want to know
the lengths that these people will go to destroy people is just crazy.
It really is.
Colleen has never done one damn thing to any of those people. Nothing. She read medical records and she gave her opinion. And she gave her wrong opinion and had to go back and tell everybody that it's a wrong opinion because you told her that she had no long-lasting effects. So when she read medical records, she read them wrong.
But isn't that fancy just like someone who would say they testify in court by medical records that are presented to them? Then they would have to go back if it's wrong and say they're wrong.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Do you know how hard that is for Colleen to know that she got it wrong in the beginning? She's very upset about it. And she went back and listened to the podcast. She went back and listened to the podcast. She was very young. She was 24 years old when we did the podcast. She was the same age as Gypsy when she did the podcast, as Gypsy was when she unaligned her mother.
Oh,
and
wow.
She listens to herself and she's like, oh my God, there were so many times that I said things that were so crass or wrong or whatever because I was young and I wasn't thinking, and I didn't even want to do the book because she was all happy about doing the book. We were all excited. Then they got in her head about this and she got all worried about doing the book. And I told her, I was like, Colleen, if you really truly believe you got things wrong, and I agree that you did, then the only option is for you to do the retractions and write your updated thought process in the book.
Did
so that
she?
You cover yourself. She did.
Oh,
she did.
good. Okay.
That's why the book took so long because, first of all, we were editing it. I was editing it by myself. Then Matt came to me and was like, dude, why is it taking so long? And I'm like, because I don't have time to do all this.
Yeah, it's a lot when you're editing your own stuff.
Doing all the things that I do a lot of shit all day long. And so Matt was like, well, let me help. And so we were doing so. Colleen was helping. Then they did the whole thing with her license, and she got notified. So she freaked out, and she was like, "Okay, I'm not going to do it." And I was like, "All right, fine. We'll continue on without you. I don't think that's a good idea, but we'll continue on without you." Then she came back to me again, and she's like, "Is it too late? I know you were going to publish tomorrow, or whatever." I'm like, "No, it's not. We're still editing. Do you want to do it?" And she's like, "Yes." That's when she tells me, though, I don't want my name on it, and I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "Because I don't want to be associated with all this anymore. I don't want to be a public figure anymore, Fancy. It's not for me. You're right. It's not for me." And they say the most horrible, heinous things about me, and I can't take it like you take it. And Christina's no longer here to fight with us, and I just can't fight anymore on my own. I just can't do it. And that's why I told her, I'll take the name off. I'll take your name off the book, but I will never, ever, ever allow anyone to take the credit away from you for doing what you did.
I can imagine that that'd be really difficult to deal with and manage emotionally. Yeah.
But at the same time, her going back and actually wanting to help probably helped her some way relieve herself of a little bit of the guilt.
Yes.
Right.
And I think she felt comfortable. I think she was happy with it in the end. In fact, she messaged me the other day and was like, "Hey, will you send me the copies, like a copy of each edition?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. You know, and she's the one who came up with the idea. I said, "Well, I'm not taking, look, if I take your name off, then do I have to take off Christina's? Because Christina's not even here, and she deserves, as this being her work for years and years and years and years, to be recognized for this. And now they're ruining Christina's memory. Like, really, you know, what are these people doing, Colleen?" And so she came up with the idea. She was like, "Why don't we do this? You can keep Christina's name on there, keep your name on there, and then write and others, because so many people helped us with this, Fancy."
Yeah.
That cover, so they don't sue me, because she was worried that they were going to sue her like they sued me. That was her main problem. She was so worried about that. On top of losing her license for this, like, how dare you people do this shit to her?
I don't think it's and I was saying that even about, I said this before, it's going to be very hard for Gypsy to, I think, find a good pediatrician to be on her side, because she's accused so many doctors of bad things.
Yeah, for sure.
And nobody wants to lose their license over this girl.
No. And that's exactly what she'll do. If they don't do something that she wants them to do, or that she's going to do exactly what she claims Dee did. She's going to threaten them. She's going to manipulate them. She's going to lie. I personally believe that the opposite is going to happen from Dee. Instead of Dee, who was championing for her child and trying very hard to, like, you know, get the right diagnosis. I think that Gypsy's so in denial that she's going to do the opposite and not try to get. If the baby is sick, she's not going to want to admit it.
She's not going to want to admit it.
She's
not going to want people to see the baby. She's probably not going to bond with the baby if there's any signs of sickness.
Right. None of it. That's exactly it.
She's going to be very resentful. And I feel for that baby if it is sick, like Gypsy, because I fear that she will do something drastic if the child is showing symptoms of the same illness.
And it might be a big portion of why she doesn't want us to see the baby, because we might be able to see like we see it in Gypsy.
I think that
like the character traits.
I think that that's one thing. Exactly. But I think that there's also the aspect that Gypsy is very attention hungry. And if she shows her child on social media or in the media at all, a lot of that attention is going to veer away from Gypsy and onto the baby. And she can't have the attention drifting from her because she's an attention whore and needs the attention on her. She feeds off of it. And so if her child is getting that attention, she knows that it's already going to create resentment. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think at the end of Dee Dee's life, Dee Dee was getting a lot of attention because she was sick. And I think that there was a role reversal and Gypsy was very resentful that her mother was receiving all the same love and adoration and admiration and support that Gypsy was receiving when she was sick. Now that had shifted onto Dee Dee, so Gypsy was very, very resentful of that.
Part of the caregiver.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do that. She even said it. Well, what if my mom had lived to be 70? I
Yeah.
didn't want to wait that long.
Like, she admitted it. She admitted it. I couldn't believe she admitted it.
Little bitch. Like, can you imagine saying that about your mom who's taking care of you your whole freaking life?
It just tells you what kind of a person she really is.
When I was a child too, my mother was abusive. She was on a lot of medications, and she was diabetic. She had a kidney transplant. They had on all kinds of crazy medications that made my mom abusive. But do you know what? She was the best grandmother in the world I could have had for my kids. And in the end, I took care of her to the second she was gone.
That's what you do. I mean, my dad was my abuser, and in the end, my mom had died. And he had lymphedema in his legs, and he had prostate cancer. Guess who got to take care of him? Me.
Right.
But I did it until he died.
Yep. Because that's what you do as an adult.
Yeah, as an adult. She was acting very childish, but I think that her brain is still mentally in like a very teenage state. I don't think that she has the capacity to mature like an actual adult.
Yeah, that's apparent in the way that she wants us all to look at her body and her postpartum body and she's not growing up. She just she thinks that
it's like she's stuck.
She thinks that she's the shit, basically.
Well, she spent a lot of time watching Disney TV shows, and I think that she's stuck in this Wizards of Waverly Camp Rock era. You know what I mean? Right. Do you remember those shows? Those shows would have been coming up at the same time as she was growing up. And I think that she's stuck in that teenage mentality because her brain doesn't have the capacity to grow and close that frontal lobe.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, but that's how it feels.
No, I agree with that. I think so too. I think you're right in how you're describing that.
She's stuck in this fantasy land that's not reality.
And we all know that she lives in delusion, especially because she's not admitting and telling everybody that she went totally unscathed by this chromosome deletion. Like, she lives in a state of delusion, in an altered reality that only she really is in. And
it sucks that she took out the one person who was going to address these issues as opposed to Christy and Rod, who are going along with the delusion.
Yes, it's almost like somebody just posted Hannah Montana. You know how Hannah Montana was like two different people? That's Gypsy. That's literally who she is, except she's not two different people. She's like five different people because she's whoever you need her to be at the moment that you need her to be it. And then
we saw that when she said how she adapted her characters to Nick.
Yes. She's whoever she needs to be for the moment that she needs to be, and then she's somebody else because she's been acting her entire life. So she doesn't even know who she is. She doesn't know what type of...
She doesn't know the real Gypsy because she's never taken the time to figure it out.
Right, because she's constantly putting on different faces for different people, trying to be who she thinks everyone wants her to be.
Yep.
Yeah, she lacks responsibility. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Well, she doesn't know how to be responsible because nobody's holding her accountable to be responsible.
Exactly. Nobody's ever told her no. Nobody's held her accountable for her bullshit.
I mean, they just let her do whatever she wants to do. I mean, who in their right mind would have allowed her to continue on with this pregnancy 3 months out of prison? I mean, literally. Like, why is nobody advocating for what's actually in the best interest of her?
Just like the parole people letting her still be on social media knowing what she did to Nick.
Right.
It should have been a stipulation of her parole to stay off of social media, period. Stay off the internet.
They're not scared of her. They like her money. They don't want to hold her accountable because the more that Gypsy's out here showing her ass, the better it is for
Yeah,
she's
she's a cash cow.
That's it. She's a cash cow. She's just a different one now.
Yeah. I believe that very much so. Okay, ladies, well, let me get off of here because I've already been on for a couple of hours and I need to stretch my legs.
Yeah, I'm going to go make me something to eat.
I ate earlier.
Have a good night.
Y'all have a good night. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Well, I did expect to read this evening out of our book, but that seemed like a pretty good conversation. So if you want to listen to the conversation that we had, you're welcome to go back. This live will be added to my playlist for Gypsy Rose. Taco, I think you're right. I think that last trip was probably the very last time that Gypsy was like, she knew that there wasn't going to be any more. And I think she was struggling to kind of figure out like what is next. Um, and she didn't want to be the one to have to take care of her mom. I think that she didn't want to be responsible for her mother. She didn't. Isn't it sad? But she desperately needs help, and I fear that the people in her life are not going to get her the help that she actually needs because they're too concerned with money rather than her overall mental health and wellness. Do I think that Gypsy is a good person? No, I have never thought that she was a good person, but I do think that change is possible when you are given the ability to change and held accountable for your poor choices in life. When you are not held accountable for your poor choices, you continue to make those poor choices over and over and over again, except they're different, they're worse, and they become more dangerous. And it's clear that she's a dangerous person. I mean, people just don't just go unalive others if they're not dangerous. So I almost feel bad for her as well, but then I think to the fact that she wasn't abused in the way that they portrayed her to be abused. And there's so many people out there who have gone through worse abuse than what she supposedly went through, and they didn't unalive their parents. You know what I mean? So there's not really any reason to feel sorry for her because she had the same choices that we all do, and she chose violence over love and compassion and kindness, and over making a responsible choice and taking care of herself and removing herself from a situation if she was in fact being abused. We all have those choices. And I'm sorry, it takes a really terrible minded person to think about unaliving somebody and then actually do it. I think all of us have some moments where, we'll passively think, "Oh, you make me want to strangle you," or something along those lines. But it's never like I'm actually going to do it or I do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just the thought about it, and it's all very joking in a sense, but actually her thoughts actually turned into real actions that not only took her mother's life, but took Nicholas's life, his mother's life, her his brother's ability to have a brother. So it ruined a lot of lives, and she had the ability to stop it all, and she chose not to. She is very impulsive, and I think that that's what makes her the most dangerous. People who have no impulse control and they are unable to hold themselves accountable are the most dangerous types of people, because they don't think on logic, they think based on emotion. And she's constantly stuck in this mindset of um being rescued by Prince Charming and living out this fictional fairy tale kind of life that is not reality. Like I said, she's in a state of delusion where her mind is fixated on this fairy tale dream that is not conducive to reality. And her delusions are what is ultimately imprisoning her. Hey, Shorty Pie, I'm about to get off. Um, Her delusions are what is imprisoning her, because she's constantly seeing herself as someone who needs saving. Like, I need to be saved by this person, that person, and the other. And that's just, you can never grow as an adult if you're constantly in a state of victimhood. Yeah, you're late. It's okay though. We had a really good conversation. I got on around 6. We had a really good conversation, and this will be saved to the playlist if you want to come back and come back to it later. I'm gonna head because I need to get in the shower, and I groomed a husky today, and she literally shook dirty water all over me, so I feel really gross. I should have come home and taken a shower right away, but I didn't. So I definitely need it now. All right, you guys, love you.